And by the way, that's true of Shavuot too. Shavuot is the historical event of Shavuot is the giving of the Torah, which happens to correspond most years and always with our calendar with Shavuot. But the Torah was given on the 6th of Sivan, and Shavuot could come out on the 5th or 7th when they used to sanctify the month by the new moon, because it's 50 days after Pesach, and the intervening months of Nisan and Iyar could have 29 or 30 days, 29-30, 29-29, or 30-30, when they used to sanctify the new moon by means of actually visualizing.
But why then Shavuot is a separate is a holiday, and what it actually commemorates in 50 days?
So we will talk about that this spring very briefly. Shavuot represents but that's the whole point. The Shavuot commemorates the completion of self-development that begins with the Exodus from Egypt and ends with the giving of the Torah. However, here's the key point. The celebration of Shavuot is the completeness that we reach on our own with God's help. The giving of the Torah is something God did. That happened once and will never happen again. We commemorate it, but in Jewish holidays, we don't commemorate an event. We relive an event. So unlike the Exodus, the reliving of the giving of the Torah is the reliving of attaining that completeness through our efforts. The reliving is getting to 50. It's not God appearing. We connect with that divine power because the Torah is given that has to be accepted. We reconnect with the giving of the Torah by accepting it, which the accepting can happen after 50 days of self-effort, of self-development, which might happen. In other words, according to Halacha, many rabbis, including the Lubavitcher Rebbe, feel very strongly that if you go to Australia and cross the date line, you must celebrate Shavuot a day earlier or later than everyone in Australia if you stay there. And the reason is because you are ready to receive the Torah 50 days after Pesach. So, in other words, it's related to the giving of the Torah, the arc between the barley harvest and the barley offering and the wheat offering. But Yom Tov is not about what God does, it's about you reliving and taking. So on Pesach, we open ourselves up to God, to freedom that God gives us, to liberation, to birth, because we're born as a nation. We open ourselves up to that. And come Shavuot, we work for 50 days on the Omer. We open ourselves up to receiving the Torah. But my point is that the giving of the Torah is not the big deal of Shavuot. It's the receiving on subsequent years. The big deal is receiving the Torah. The Torah existed from the beginning. The point is Shavuot Torah came down into this world. Well, as we relive the giving of the Torah, that doesn't come down into this world until you actually accept it. And that's what's unique about the Torah. Exodus happens whether you like it or not. Torah has to be accepted. And we will discuss this extensively before Shavuot this year, because I think it's a very important topic. That being said, the key point of Shavuot is your 50 days of activity after Pesach. Even if you're not doing it, your soul's doing it. Even if you don't even know about it. Shavuot happens for everyone, again, unless they cross date lines and so on. Because it's 50 days, there's an internal clock that begins ticking on Pesach. And that internal clock runs out 50 days. That's why, when the temple was standing, Shavuot came out on the 5th or the 7th, we would celebrate it then. And that's why there's no explicit reference in the Torah to it being the time of the giving of the Torah, because it's not necessarily the time of giving of the Torah, but it is the experience of the receiving of the Torah.
Isn't it the same?
What?
In terms of timing, isn't it the same giving and receiving?
No, because God gave the Torah historically on the 6th day of Sivan. You might not be ready to receive it until...
Okay, so it could happen actually on the 7th.
Yeah. Your being ready could happen on the 7th. Or the 5th.
And this happens at the time of the temple, or on the firstborn.
Often. And you know why? Because ultimately it is the giving. God gives the Torah and we create the vacuum for it. We create the receptor for it. God gives the Torah and we open ourselves up to it. So your soul opens itself up 50 days after Pesach. There are many things in nature that even a lightning bolt, right? It only comes when you have the difference of potential, electric potential between the ground, right? Lightning bolts actually go up, yeah. So it's the same thing. When that potential happens, zap, the Torah gets given. But you need both the negative and positive pole. And that's what's happening with the giving of the Torah. In my opinion, that is why the Torah was accompanied by lightning, because the Torah works just like the physics of lightning. That there needs to be this potential relationship to allow the current to flow. And if you say, how could that be? Because this understanding came later, there are a lot of things like that in the Torah. Yes,
I was confused by twice your reference to the 6th. I thought that prior to having a fixed calendar where we make sure it always comes out on that date, just as it could have been the 5th, 6th, or 7th, the actual giving of the Torah I thought was the subject of debate.
You are correct. There is a debate as to whether it happened
5th to the 6th.
6th to the 7th.
Because we don't know when the witnesses actually came and what the Sanhedrin.
It's actually not the reason. This is in Tractate Shabbat, and the particular debate has to do with how you read the story in the Torah. There's 2 events that either happened on one day or in 2 separate days. In other words, when Moshe tells everyone to separate for 3 days, is that on the 3rd or the 4th? It's on the 3rd, it's 4 or 5. It's on the 2nd, then it's 34-5 Torah giving on the 6th.
But the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh was given already in Mitzrayim.
Right.
And was in place by the time we get to
Right,
Rosh Hashanah.
but it's
So the administration of the calendar is.
Yeah, but see, but the reason for the 6th, 7th debate. In other words, here's the interesting thing. Even the 6th. The reason for the 6th, 7th debate has to do not just with the calendar, it has to do with, now, it has to do with the way we read the account in the Torah. And I believe that the ambiguity as to what day the Torah is given is because it has nothing to do it is less to do with the giving of the Torah than it has to do with our receiving it, our being ready to receive it. In other words, God didn't ask the Jews if they want to be liberated. God liberated them. God didn't ask us if we wanted to have manna and clouds of glory in the desert. He gave them to us. But God asked the Jews if they wanted the Torah. Shavuot is more of a dichotomy than any other. And it has to do with the reason why even those who are very holy can't fast on Shavuot and so on. Or we'll talk about it. But I'm saying that you have already given me the topic for Shavuot. Shavuot is unique in many, many ways. It's also the only one of the 3 festivals that's one day rather than 7 or 8. But technically Shmini Atzeret is a separate holiday. So,